Hello, I'm Arthur, and tonight I will gently guide you through a peaceful journey into life on a medieval farm. So, relax, let your body rest, and allow your mind to slow down. There is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to go. Just listen, breathe slowly, and drift into sleep. Before the first pale light is fully gathered over the fields, the farm is already resting in that quiet, delicate space between night and morning. I like to imagine it there, held in soft gray stillness, with the land breathing slowly beneath a thin veil of mist. Nothing begins all at once, nothing rushes. The morning comes gently, as if it has all the time in the world. The farmhouse stands low and sturdy against the dim horizon, its timber dark with age, its roof still cool from the long night. Around it, the yard lies calm and undisturbed, the earth packed firm from many footsteps, though at this early hour no one yet crosses it. A wooden cart rests near the fence, its wheels damp with dew. A stack of firewood waits beneath a lean-to, dry and orderly, giving off that faint scent of bark and old resin. The gate is closed, the barn doors are shut, the whole farm seems to be listening. The air is cool in a way that feels clean and tender. It carries the quiet smell of hay, soil, damp wood, and distant animals still settling in their stalls. Somewhere beyond the house, a hedge holds droplets of water along each leaf, and each drop catches what little light the sky is beginning to offer. Nothing sparkles sharply here. The light is too soft for that. Instead, the world seems brushed with silver, with pale pearl, with the softest hint of day. Inside the farmhouse, the darkness has not entirely gone. It lingers in the corners, along the beams beneath the table, around the bench near the hearth. The room is simple, worn smooth by daily life. A coarse blanket lies folded over a bed of straw and wool. A clay jug stands beside a wooden cup. A loaf from the day before rests under a cloth. Everything is modest, useful, familiar. In this quiet hour, the objects seem especially still, as though they too are waking slowly. Then, at last, there is the smallest sign of movement. A floorboard gives a soft creak. Someone stirs beneath a blanket. The farm does not wake with noise, but with gentle habit. A hand reaches out into the cool air. Feet find the earthen floor. There is no hurry in these first moments, only the old rhythm beginning again, steady as breath, steady as dawn. I picture the farmer rising first, or perhaps the farmer's wife, depending on the season and the needs of the day. In a place like this, mornings belong to everyone, and each person has their own quiet task waiting. A shawl is gathered around the shoulders. A tunic is pulled close. Fingers, still heavy with sleep, smooth back hair and tie a cord at the waist. The body wakes slowly, accepting the chill, accepting the dimness, accepting another day of simple work. Near the hearth, yesterday's ashes sleep in a pale mound. Beneath them, if the fire was banked well, a little warmth may still remain. Someone kneels there, careful and patient, and begins the first task of morning, coaxing the fire back to life. A bit of straw, a few dry twigs, a gentle breath, then another. The sound is so soft it hardly disturbs the room, just the faint crackle of tinder catching, the whisper of warmth returning. A tiny orange glow grows under the gray ash, then brightens, then lifts into a small flame. It is enough. The day has begun. That first fire changes the whole feeling of the house, not quickly, not all at once, but gently. Shadows begin to loosen. The smell of smoke rises into the rafters. A little warmth touches the hands, then the face. A pot is set near the flame. Water is poured. Perhaps porridge oats will be cooked soon, or a bit of pottage warmed from the day before. The food is plain, but the comfort is real. In the stillness of early morning, even a simple pot warming by the fire feels like a blessing. Outside, the farmyard begins to shift almost imperceptibly. A hen rustles in the coop. A cow gives a low, sleepy sound from the byre. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster calls, not sharply, but as part of the great slow unfolding of the dawn. The sound moves over the fields and hedges and low stone walls and then fades into the morning air. A dog lifts its head, listens, and settles again for a moment longer. When the door opens at last, the cool air slips inside, and with it comes the smell of wet grass and earth. The person stepping out pauses for just a second, perhaps to look at the sky, perhaps to feel the morning. It is a sky of muted color now, gray fading into pale blue, with a brush of faint gold forming near the edge of the world. The fields stretch beyond in quiet strips and patches, divided by paths, ditches, fences, and memory. They are not loud or grand. They are simply there, waiting. The first footsteps across the yard are familiar ones. The packed ground knows them well. There's a slow crossing to the byre, a hand on the wooden latch, a soft push at the door. Inside, the animals shift in the dimness. Their warmth fills the air. Their breath rises visibly in the cool morning. A cow turns her head. A calf stirs on its bedding. The scent here is strong but honest. Hay, milk, hide, and straw. It is the smell of life beginning again. There is something deeply calming about these first farm tasks. They are repeated each day in nearly the same order, with nearly the same movements. A bucket is set down. A hand strokes the flank of a cow to settle her. Milk begins to fall in steady streams against the pail, warm and rhythmic, one of the softest sounds of morning work. The animal stands quietly. The milker works in silence. No one needs to speak. The task itself is a kind of understanding. Elsewhere, another door opens. Hens are led out into the yard where they step carefully into the dew, tilting their heads as if the world must be inspected anew each morning. Their feathers catch the growing light in dull russet, cream, and brown. They scratch gently at the earth. They murmur to one another in soft, busy sounds. Near them, a child may appear at the doorway, still wrapped in sleep, watching the day begin before being called toward breakfast or chores. The children of the farm wake differently from the grown ones. More slowly, perhaps, reluctantly at first. But even they are shaped by the rhythm of the place. A young boy pulls on rough wool and blinks into the light. A girl smooths her apron and carries a basket that seems a little too large for her hands. They know where to go. They know what must be done. A farm teaches this quietly, day after day, until movement becomes memory. Back in the house, the morning meal grows warmer. Steam rises from the pot in thin curling threads. Bread is sliced with a small, practiced knife. Perhaps there is a little cheese, perhaps a few onions, perhaps only porridge and yesterday's loaf. Yet in the stillness of dawn, this food feels steady and enough. Wooden bowls are set out. A ladle moves slowly. The family gathers not in chatter, but in the gentle closeness of shared routine. The fire crackles. A stool scrapes softly. Someone blows across a spoonful of hot oats. It is a humble beginning, but a peaceful one. As more light enters the room, details emerge one by one. The grain of the table, the uneven plaster of the wall, the basket of turnips near the door, the iron hook by the hearth, a spindle left from the evening before, a small patch sewn onto a sleeve. These are the textures of farm life, not arranged for display, only gathered through use. They carry the softness of repetition, the tenderness of ordinary care. Outside, the mist begins to thin over the fields. The hedgerows take clearer shape. A narrow footpath appears where before there had only been pale blur. In the vegetable patch near the house, rows of cabbage and herbs hold beads of water in their leaves. Beyond that, perhaps there are strips of barley or oats, or a pasture where sheep lift their heads one by one as the morning widens. The farm is not waking dramatically. It is unfolding, layer by layer, in quiet light. The sounds of the place remain gentle, the creak of a bucket handle, the rustle of straw, the low murmur of animals, the soft clink of pottery, the brush of a broom across the threshold. Even labor begins softly here. Nothing crashes into the day. It all enters slowly, like light coming into a room through a small window. I think there is a particular peace in that kind of beginning. A medieval farm asks much from the people who live upon it, and yet its mornings are often full of stillness. Before the sun rises high, before tools strike soil, before carts roll and voices carry across the yard, there is this smaller world of first motions and careful tasks. Fire, water, milk, bread, the opening of doors, the breathing of animals, the coolness of dawn against warm hands. One person may walk now toward the well, carrying a yoke or a bucket, stepping carefully over familiar ground. The rope lowers with a muted sound. Water answers from below. Then comes the slow pull upward, hand over hand, the bucket emerging dark and shining. Water is poured into a pail, and a little spills onto the earth, darkening it further. Even this small chore feels peaceful in the morning quiet, as though the well itself has not fully woken and offers its water in silence. Another may shake out straw in the byre or sweep yesterday's dust from the floor. Another may gather eggs, warm from the nest, placing them one by one into a woven basket. The eggshells are pale and delicate in the early light. The basket smells faintly of reeds and grain. Nearby, the dog now follows at a slow pace, alert but calm, as if it too understands that this is not the hour for haste. As the sky brightens, the edges of the world soften rather than sharpen. The farm seems wrapped in a mild glow, and every surface holds a little trace of dawn. The roof thatch dries slowly, the fence posts warm by degrees. The barn door, once gray in shadow, now shows the faded brown of old wood. A cart rut in the yard fills with light. Small things become visible, small things become beautiful. And still the morning remains gentle. The family has not yet gone fully into the fields. The longest labors are not yet underway. This is the threshold hour, the breathing space between sleep and toil. It carries a quiet dignity. No grand event happens here, only life, carefully continuing. I imagine Arthur standing for a moment at the edge of the yard, looking out over the land before the day grows busier. The air is cool in his chest. The smell of smoke clings softly to his clothes. Behind him, the house is warm at the hearth. Beside him, the animals settle into their morning. Ahead, the fields wait in patient silence under the pale gold of the rising sun. And in that hush, with the whole farm slowly waking around him, the world feels simple, old and kind, as though it could remain in this quiet beginning just a little longer. The first light of morning does not arrive all at once. It comes quietly, almost unnoticed, like a slow breath drawn across the land. I imagine it beginning far beyond the fields, where the sky gently shifts from deep night into a soft, muted gray. There is no sharp line, no sudden change, only a gradual easing of darkness, as though the world itself is opening its eyes. On the medieval farm, this first light touches everything with a delicate hand. The rooftops, still cool from the night, begin to soften in color. The thatch, dark and heavy in shadow, takes on a faint warmth, though the sun has not yet risen. The wooden beams of the farmhouse hold the memory of night, but now they begin to show their grain again, slowly returning to view. The air is still, not silent, but filled with the gentlest sounds. A distant bird stirs in a hedge. The faint shifting of animals carries from the barn. Somewhere, water drips softly from the edge of a roof, each drop falling with quiet patience into the earth below. The farm is waking, but it does so without urgency, without noise. It is a slow unfolding, steady and familiar. Inside the house, the darkness lingers a little longer. The thick walls hold the night, keeping the interior dim even as the outside world begins to brighten. Shapes are still soft and undefined. The table is a shadow. The bench rests against the wall in stillness. A woven basket sits near the door, barely visible in the low light. Then, gently, there is movement. Someone shifts beneath a blanket. The straw mattress rustles softly. A hand moves, searching for warmth, for the edge of the covering, for the quiet reassurance of something known. Waking does not happen quickly here. It is not an abrupt return to the world, but a gradual rising, like the light itself. I imagine Arthur speaking softly, as though not to disturb the stillness. The body feels the morning before the mind fully wakes. The cool air touches the face. The weight of sleep begins to lift little by little. There is no rush to stand, no loud sound calling the day forward. Only the gentle awareness that morning has come again, just as it did yesterday, and the day before, and many days before that. A quiet breath fills the room, then another. Slowly, someone sits up. The blanket falls slightly, letting in the chill of early morning. It is not unpleasant, just noticeable. A reminder that the fire has long since faded in the night. Feet touch the ground, careful and steady. The floor is cool beneath them, firm and familiar. Clothing is reached for without thought. A tunic, worn soft from many washings. A simple shift, a woolen wrap. Each piece is practical, chosen not for display, but for comfort and necessity. The fabric moves quietly in the still air. No sharp sounds, no sudden motion. Everything follows the same calm rhythm. Nearby, another sleeper begins to wake, perhaps a child, slower to rise, turning once more before opening their eyes. Perhaps a second adult, already aware of the light beyond the walls. The household does not stir all at once. Each person rises in their own time, yet all are guided by the same quiet signal, the growing light of morning. From a small opening in the wall or through the cracks near the door, the first true light begins to enter. It is pale and gentle, almost blue at first. It stretches softly across the floor, touching the edges of objects, outlining them in faint clarity. The room begins to take shape again, slowly revealing itself. A clay pot near the hearth, a wooden spoon resting beside it, a folded cloth on the table. These are simple things, unchanged from the day before, yet in the early light they seem almost new again. There is something comforting in their presence, something steady and reliable. The hearth itself is quiet now, but it holds the memory of warmth. Ashes lie pale and still, covering whatever small embers may remain beneath. Someone moves toward it, not quickly, not with urgency, but with quiet intention. The day cannot begin fully until the fire returns. Kneeling beside the hearth, a hand brushes lightly through the ash. There is a careful search, a patient movement. A piece of dry straw is placed gently. A small twig follows, then a breath, soft and steady, coaxing what little heat remains back into life. The first faint glow appears, almost uncertain. Then another breath, another careful moment. A flicker of orange rises, small but steady. The fire begins again, just as it has every morning. Not dramatic, not sudden, simply continuing. As the flame grows, it casts a warm, low light across the room. Shadows shift slightly. The space feels different now, more awake, more present. The fire brings not only warmth, but a sense of beginning. A quiet signal that the day is ready to unfold. Outside, the light strengthens. The sky moves from gray into a pale wash of gold and soft blue. The horizon brightens, and the shapes of the fields become clearer. The mist that settled overnight begins to lift, though it lingers in low places, drifting gently over the ground. The animals feel it too. In the barn, a cow shifts its weight, the soft sound of hooves pressing into straw. A horse lowers its head, breathing slowly into the morning air. Chickens stir on their perches, feathers rustling softly as they adjust to the growing light. A rooster calls, not loudly, but with a steady, familiar tone. It is not a command, but a recognition. Morning has come. Back in the house, more movement follows. A child sits up, rubbing their eyes, looking toward the growing light near the door. There is no confusion, no surprise, only the quiet understanding that another day has begun. Small hands reach for clothing. A blanket is folded or pushed aside. Feet find the floor, still cool, but no longer so sharp in its touch. The room fills slowly with presence. No one speaks loudly. Voices, if they come, are soft and low, shaped by the calm of the hour. There is no need for many words. The morning tasks are known, remembered, repeated. Each person moves through them with a kind of quiet confidence. The fire grows stronger. A pot is brought near. Water is poured, the sound gentle and steady. Soon there will be warmth, not just from the flame, but from food. Simple food, prepared without hurry. Near the doorway, someone pauses. The door opens just slightly, letting in a thin stream of morning air. It carries with it the scent of damp earth, of grass touched by dew, of wood and distant fields. The air is cool but fresh, and it moves softly into the room, blending with the warmth of the fire. Stepping outside, the world feels open and calm. The farm stretches quietly under the growing light. The yard is still, marked only by faint tracks in the shapes of tools left from the day before. A cart stands near the fence. A bucket rests beside the well. Everything is in its place, waiting to be used again. The ground is slightly damp beneath each step. Dew clings to the grass, brushing lightly against worn shoes. The fence lines guide the eye across the land, dividing the space into fields and paths, each one familiar, each one part of the daily rhythm. There is no rush to fill the morning. Even as the light grows stronger, the pace remains slow. The farm does not wake in a single moment. It unfolds gently, as though time itself moves differently here. I imagine Arthur standing quietly in this early light, taking in the stillness before the day begins in earnest. The sky continues to brighten. The mist lifts a little more. The animals settle into their first movements. The house behind him holds the warmth of the fire, the soft sounds of waking life, the steady presence of routine. And in this moment, between night and full day, everything feels balanced. Not yet busy, not yet filled with labor, just awake, just beginning, just gently moving forward into another calm and familiar day on the farm. The morning has now settled gently into the farmhouse, no longer just a quiet suggestion of light, but a soft presence that fills the room and rests along the wooden beams. I imagine standing there with Arthur, where the air still carries the coolness of dawn, yet is slowly being warmed by the small, patient flame in the hearth. This moment, when the fire is tended and the first routines begin, feels steady and reassuring, as though the entire day rests upon these simple, careful actions. The hearth sits at the heart of the home, low and wide, shaped by years of use. Ash from the night before lies pale and soft, like a thin blanket over what remains beneath. The farmer, or perhaps the farmer's wife, kneels there once again, not hurried, not restless, but calm and practiced. There is a rhythm to this movement that has been repeated so many times it requires no thought at all. A hand brushes lightly through the ash, searching for any small warmth that might still be hidden there. The fingers move slowly, with care, as though not to disturb the quiet too much. Then comes the gathering of kindling. Dry straw, a few thin twigs, perhaps a splinter of wood saved from the day before. Each piece is placed with intention, not scattered, but arranged gently, as if building something fragile and important. I like to imagine the soft sound of breath as the flame is coaxed to life. A slow exhale, warm against the cool ash, then another. The ember beneath begins to glow, faint at first, then a little brighter. The straw catches with a quiet crackle, almost like a whisper. The flame rises, small but steady, flickering against the dim interior walls. Nothing about this moment feels dramatic. There is no sudden burst of light or heat, only a quiet return. The fire does not arrive. It is invited, gently, patiently, until it decides to stay. As the flame grows, it begins to change the room in subtle ways. The air warms slightly, just enough to soften the chill that lingered from the night. Shadows move slowly across the floor, shifting and settling as the light dances against them. The scent of smoke rises upward, familiar and comforting, curling into the rafters where it will linger throughout the day. Arthur's voice, if he were here, would remain soft, steady, almost blending into the quiet crackle of the fire. Now, the morning routine begins to unfold around this small center of warmth. A pot is brought forward, its surface worn smooth from years of use. Water is poured inside, the sound gentle and hollow. It is placed carefully near the flame, not directly upon it, but close enough to begin warming slowly. There is no rush to bring it to a boil. Everything happens in its own time. Nearby, someone reaches for a loaf of bread from the day before. It is firm now, the crust slightly hardened, but still good. A knife moves through it with a quiet, steady pressure, cutting thick slices. There is no waste here, no excess. Each piece is handled with care, as though it carries quiet importance. Perhaps a small piece of cheese is set beside it. Perhaps a bit of leftover pottage will be warmed. The meal is simple, as it always is, but there is something deeply comforting in its sameness. The body does not expect surprise. It expects steadiness. Around the room, others begin their own gentle tasks. A child gathers a cloth from the table, smoothing it out with small, careful hands. Another brings wooden bowls, placing them one by one in their usual places. The movements are quiet, almost instinctive. Even at a young age, the rhythm of the farm lives within them. Clothing is adjusted, sleeves are pulled down, a belt is tied, a shawl is wrapped more tightly as the warmth from the fire has not yet fully spread. The air still carries a hint of coolness, but it is no longer sharp. It has softened, becoming part of the morning rather than something to resist. From outside, faint sounds drift in, the soft shuffle of animals in the yard, the low murmur of a cow, the gentle rustle of chickens beginning to stir. These sounds are not interruptions. They are part of the same quiet rhythm, woven into the morning as naturally as the fire itself. The door may open briefly, letting in a thin stream of fresh air. It carries the scent of damp earth and grass, touched by dew. The coolness brushes lightly across the room, mixing with the warmth of the hearth. It is a small contrast, but a pleasant one, reminding everyone of the world just beyond the walls. Someone steps outside for a moment, perhaps to fetch water, perhaps to check on the animals. The yard is brighter now, though still soft with early light. Footsteps press gently into the ground, leaving faint marks that will soon be crossed again and again throughout the day. Back inside, the fire continues to grow, not large, not overwhelming, but steady. It does not need to be more than this. It is enough to warm the room, to heat the water, to bring comfort to the hands that hover near it. I imagine Arthur standing quietly nearby, observing these movements, not as something unusual, but as something deeply familiar. There is a peace in this repetition. No one questions what must be done. No one rushes ahead. Each task follows the other in a natural order, as though guided by something older than memory. The fire leads to warmth. Warmth leads to food. Food leads to strength, and strength will carry the day forward. The pot begins to give off a faint steam now, rising in thin, curling lines. Someone stirs it slowly, the wooden spoon moving in gentle circles. The sound is soft, almost soothing, like a quiet rhythm that fills the room without demanding attention. The family gathers closer, though still without crowding. There is space. There is calm. Each person settles into their place, not assigned, but understood. The bowls are filled one by one. Bread is passed from hand to hand. A simple meal, shared in silence or in the softest of voices. Even eating feels unhurried. A spoon lifts slowly, steam rises, a breath cools the surface before the first taste. There is warmth now, not just from the fire, but from the food itself. It spreads gently through the body, easing the last traces of sleep. Outside, the light continues to grow. The sky now carries more color, a pale gold spreading across the horizon. The mist begins to lift from the fields, revealing the shapes of fences, paths, and distant trees. The farm is becoming clearer, more defined, yet still wrapped in a quiet calm. Inside, the morning routine continues its steady flow. A bucket is prepared, a tool is lifted from its place, a cloth is folded and set aside. Each small action builds toward the day ahead, yet none of them feel heavy or rushed. They are simply part of the rhythm, as natural as breathing. The fire, now fully alive, remains at the center of it all. It crackles softly, sending small sparks upward, its light dancing along the walls. It asks for little, only a bit of wood, a bit of care, and in return it gives warmth, comfort, and the quiet assurance that the day has truly begun. And as Arthur stands there, watching the gentle movements of the household, the slow preparation of food, the careful tending of the fire, there's a sense that nothing more is needed in this moment. The world outside will soon call for work, for fields, for animals, for long hours beneath the open sky. But here, in this early hour, within the soft glow of the hearth and the calm of familiar routine, everything feels balanced, steady, and at peace, just as the morning continues to unfold. As the morning settles more fully across the farm, the quiet routines of the house begin to flow outward into the yard and the small wooden buildings that rest nearby. I imagine Arthur stepping gently from the warmth of the hearth into the cool, open air, where the light has now grown softer and brighter at the same time, spreading across the ground in pale gold tones. The day has begun, though it still carries the calm of early hours, and now the care of animals becomes the steady center of this part of the morning. The path from the house to the barn is well known, shaped by many footsteps over many years. It is not perfectly smooth, but it feels familiar underfoot, firm in some places, slightly soft in others where the earth holds the night's moisture. As I walk along it in my mind, there's a quiet sense of purpose, but no urgency. These tasks return every morning, and they are met in the same gentle way. The barn stands close, built of timber darkened by time, its roof sloping low and steady. The door opens with a soft wooden creak, a sound that belongs to this place just as much as the animals inside. As it moves, a breath of warm air drifts outward, carrying with it the scent of hay, straw, and living creatures. It is a strong scent, but not unpleasant. It is steady and grounding, a reminder of the quiet life held within. Inside, the light is dim but growing. Thin beams of morning brightness slip through small gaps in the wood, falling in narrow lines across the floor. Dust moves slowly within them, drifting without hurry. The animals shift as the door opens, aware of the presence that has come to greet them. A cow turns her head slowly, her large eyes calm and steady. Her breath is warm, visible for just a moment in the cool air. Nearby, another animal adjusts its footing, hooves pressing gently into the straw. The sound is soft, muffled by the bedding beneath. There is no fear here, no sudden movement. The animals know this routine as well as the people do. Morning brings care, brings food, brings the quiet attention that is part of their daily rhythm. I imagine Arthur stepping inside, his movements slow and familiar, his presence steady. A hand reaches out, resting lightly against the side of a cow, feeling the warmth beneath the hide. The touch is not rushed. It is calm, almost thoughtful, as though greeting an old companion. The first task often comes with the milking. A wooden stool is placed carefully. A bucket is set beneath. The motions are practiced, repeated day after day, until they become something close to instinct. The hands move with a steady rhythm, gentle but sure. The sound of milk meeting the pail is soft and regular, like a quiet pattern that fills the space without disturbing it. The cow stands calmly, shifting only slightly now and then. Her breath moves slowly. The barn holds a peaceful stillness, broken only by these small, repeating sounds. There is something deeply soothing in this moment, in the quiet exchange between human and animal, where both understand their part without words. Nearby, another chore begins. Fresh straw is gathered and spread across the floor, replacing what has been used through the night. The movement is slow and even, the straw falling in soft layers, creating a clean and dry place for the animals to rest. Each handful is placed with care, not thrown, not rushed. The barn begins to feel renewed, not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, steady sense of order. Outside, the chickens are ready to be let out. The small coop sits just beyond the barn, its wooden frame simple and worn. As the latch is lifted, the door opens slowly, and the hens step out one by one, careful at first, then more certain as they feel the open ground beneath their feet. Their feathers catch the morning light in muted tones, soft browns, creams, and gentle golds. They move with small, deliberate steps, pecking lightly at the earth, tilting their heads as they search for grain or insects hidden in the soil. Their sounds are low and constant, a quiet murmur that blends with the rest of the farm. It is not loud, not distracting, but part of the gentle background of life. A basket may be carried into the coop, where eggs rest warm in their nests. Each one is lifted carefully, placed into the basket with a soft touch. There is no hurry here either. The eggs are gathered one by one, as though each deserves its own moment. Back in the yard, a bucket of water is carried toward the animals. The well has already been visited, the water drawn slowly from its cool depth. Now it is poured into troughs or shallow containers, the surface rippling gently as it settles. The animals move closer, lowering their heads to drink, their movements calm and unforced. A horse stands near the edge of the yard, its body still and relaxed. Its breath is steady, its ears turning slightly as it listens to the quiet sounds around it. A hand may reach out to brush its neck, smoothing the hair, feeling the warmth beneath. There is no need for more than this simple connection. The dog, now fully awake, moves quietly between these moments, watching, listening, sometimes pausing to sit in the soft dirt, content just to be near. The farm at this point in the morning feels gently alive, not busy, not hurried, but filled with small, steady movements. Each task flows into the next without interruption. There is no need to think about what comes after. It is already known. I imagine Arthur standing for a moment at the barn doorway, looking out across the yard. The light has grown warmer now. The sky holds more color. The mist has lifted almost completely, leaving the fields clear and open. The fences stretch into the distance, guiding the eye toward the land that will soon call for work. But for now, the focus remains here, in these quiet acts of care. The animals are fed, watered, tended. Their needs are simple, yet essential. And in meeting those needs, the rhythm of the farm continues, steady and unbroken. There is a quiet understanding in all of this. The people depend on the animals, and the animals depend on the people. It is not spoken, not written, but lived each day in these small, gentle actions. The barn door may be left slightly open now, letting in more light. The yard grows brighter. The sounds become a little clearer, though never harsh. And as the morning continues to unfold, Arthur remains there for just a little while longer, watching the calm movement of life around him, feeling the warmth of the growing day, and the quiet satisfaction that comes from caring for the living things that share this peaceful place. As the care of the animals gently comes to a close, the rhythm of the morning begins to stretch outward, beyond the yard, beyond the barn, and into the wide open fields that surround the farmhouse. I imagine Arthur stepping slowly along the narrow path that leads away from the buildings, the ground still slightly damp beneath his feet, the air now carrying a soft warmth as the sun rises a little higher in the sky. The fields lie waiting, not in silence, but in a kind of quiet readiness. They do not call out or demand attention. They simply exist, patient and steady, as they have always been. Their surface is uneven in places, shaped by seasons of plowing, planting, and rest. Small ridges run gently across the earth. Lines from past work remain visible, softened by time but not erased. The light now falls more clearly across the land. It touches the tops of the grasses first, then settles along the soil, revealing its rich, dark color. There is a softness to this light, a warmth that does not press too strongly, but instead wraps the fields in a gentle glow. The sky above is pale blue, with only the faintest traces of cloud drifting slowly, almost without movement. I walk beside Arthur in thought, feeling the calm of this moment. There's no rush in his steps. The work will take time, and there's no need to hurry toward it. The day is long, and it will unfold as it always does, one task at a time, one motion following another. Reaching the edge of the field, the tools are already there, resting where they were left or brought earlier in the morning. A wooden plow leans slightly to one side. A hoe lies across the ground, its handle worn smooth by many hands. A simple rake rests nearby, its teeth pressed lightly into the soil. Each tool carries its own quiet history. Arthur reaches for one, perhaps the hoe, lifting it slowly, feeling its familiar weight. The grip fits naturally in the hands, shaped over time by use. There is something comforting in this familiarity, in knowing exactly how it will move, how it will respond. The first movements of work begin gently. The soil is turned in small sections, not with force, but with steady, even motion. The hoe presses into the earth, lifts and settles again. The sound is soft, a dull rhythm that blends with the quiet of the morning. There is no sharpness, no harshness, only repetition, calm and steady. Nearby, another figure may be working as well, perhaps a second farmer or a member of the household moving along a parallel row. There is no need for conversation. The presence of another is enough. The work itself creates its own connection, a shared understanding carried through movement rather than words. The fields are divided into sections, each holding its own purpose. One may be planted with barley or oats, the green shoots just beginning to show above the soil. Another may hold rows of vegetables, cabbage, onions, perhaps small herbs, growing slowly, their leaves catching the light. Some parts of the land may rest, left untouched for a season, allowing the earth to recover its strength. Everything here follows a quiet order, shaped by time and experience. Arthur moves along the row, step by step. The body settles into the rhythm of the task. The arms lift and lower. The feet press gently into the ground. The breath becomes steady, matching the pace of the work. There is something deeply calming in this repetition. No sudden changes, no unexpected interruptions. Just the simple act of tending the land, again and again, with patience and care. The mind does not need to wander far. It can rest within the movement, within the feel of the soil, within the gentle warmth of the sun. A light breeze passes over the field. It moves through the grasses and the young plants, creating a soft, whispering sound. It touches the skin, carrying with it the scent of earth and growing things. It is neither cold nor warm, just enough to remind the body of the open space around it. In the distance, the faint sounds of the farm still linger. A low call from an animal, the soft cluck of chickens, perhaps the quiet closing of a gate. These sounds do not pull attention away. They simply exist alongside the work, part of the same gentle world. At times, Arthur may pause, not from exhaustion, but from habit. The tool rests lightly against the ground. A hand brushes soil from the fingers. The eyes lift toward the horizon, taking in the slow movement of clouds, the steady stretch of fields, the quiet presence of trees at the edge of the land. There is no urgency to continue immediately. The pause is part of the rhythm, just as important as the movement itself. It allows the body to settle, the breath to deepen, the mind to remain calm and clear. Then, slowly, the work begins again. The tool lifts, the soil turns, the row continues forward. In another part of the field, seeds may be planted. A small pouch is carried, held close. The hand reaches inside, taking a few seeds at a time, placing them carefully into the soil. Each one is set with quiet intention, not scattered, not rushed. There is an understanding that these small actions will shape the days to come. The earth receives them without sound. The soil is drawn gently over the top, covering them, protecting them. There is no immediate change, no visible result, only the quiet trust that, with time, something will grow. I imagine Arthur watching this for a moment, the simple act of planting, the careful placement of each seed. There is something deeply peaceful in it, something that does not ask for quick results, only patience. The sun rises a little higher now. Its warmth becomes more noticeable, though still gentle. Shadows grow shorter. The light spreads evenly across the field, removing the last traces of early morning softness. Yet the calm remains. The work continues without strain, without noise. Each movement flows into the next, creating a steady, unbroken rhythm that carries through the hours. The land itself seems to respond in its own quiet way. The soil shifts and settles. The plants hold steady. The breeze moves through them again and again. Nothing resists. Nothing rushes. Everything follows the same gentle pace. Arthur moves along the field, not thinking of the entire day ahead, but only of the task in front of him. This small section of earth, this single row, this one moment, and in that simplicity, there is a kind of rest. Even as the body works, the mind remains calm. The repetition brings a quiet focus, a steady presence that does not wander far. The world feels smaller here, but not in a limiting way, only in a peaceful, contained way. The fields stretch on, but there is no need to see all of them at once, only the ground beneath the feet, only the soil within reach, only the slow, steady work of tending the land as the morning gently continues to unfold. As the morning work in the fields continues, the sun slowly rises higher, its warmth becoming more noticeable upon the skin and across the land. The light, once soft and pale, now rests more fully upon the earth, spreading evenly across the rows of crops and the quiet paths between them. The rhythm of labor remains steady, but there comes a natural moment, almost unspoken, when the body begins to seek rest. I imagine Arthur pausing gently at the edge of a row, the tool resting lightly in his hands before being placed down upon the ground. There is no sudden stop, no sharp break in the work. Instead, the movement simply softens, slows, and comes to a natural pause, like a breath that has been steadily drawn and is now slowly released. Around him, others do the same. A figure straightens their back, rolling their shoulders slightly, feeling the gentle weight of the morning's effort. Another sets aside a basket or tool, wiping their hands against a cloth or the edge of a tunic. There is no need for words to signal this moment. The sun itself, now standing higher in the sky, quietly marks the time. The path back toward the farmhouse feels familiar and calm. The ground has begun to dry where the morning dew once rested, and each step carries a soft, steady sound. The fields remain behind for now, not abandoned, but simply left to rest, just as the people do. There is a quiet understanding that the work will continue later, in its own time. As I walk beside Arthur in thought, the farm comes back into view slowly. The barn, the fence, the low, sturdy house, all resting under the gentle brightness of midday. The air is warmer now, though still comfortable, and carries with it the faint scent of earth, hay, and distant cooking. Inside the farmhouse, the light has changed. Where once it crept softly through small openings, it now fills the space more fully, reaching across the table, touching the walls, settling into every corner. The hearth still holds a steady fire, not large but constant, its warmth now blending with the warmth of the day itself. A simple meal is being prepared. There's no rush here, no elaborate cooking. The food is modest, shaped by what the land provides and what has been saved. A pot rests near the fire, its contents warmed slowly. Perhaps it is a thick pottage made from grains and vegetables, stirred gently with a wooden spoon. Steam rises in soft curls, carrying a quiet, comforting scent. Bread is brought forward once again, cut into slices, its texture firm but familiar. A small piece of cheese may be set beside it, or a handful of herbs added to the pot for flavor. Everything is simple, yet everything is enough. The bowls are placed upon the table, each one worn smooth from many uses. There is no decoration, no excess, only what is needed. A ladle moves slowly from pot to bowl, filling each with care. Arthur sits, not heavily, but with a quiet ease. The body feels the morning's work, not as strain, but as a gentle weight. Muscles settle, hands rest for a moment before lifting again, this time not to work, but to eat. Around the table, others gather. There's a closeness here, but not a crowded feeling. Each person finds their place naturally. A child sits quietly, watching the steam rise from their bowl. Another reaches for a piece of bread, holding it carefully, as though aware of its value. The sounds remain soft. A spoon touches the edge of a bowl. Bread is broken gently by hand. Someone exhales quietly before taking the first bite. There is no loud conversation, only the quiet presence of shared space, shared food, shared rest. Eating is unhurried. Each spoonful is taken slowly, not out of necessity, but as part of the rhythm. The warmth of the food spreads through the body, easing the tiredness that has begun to settle. It is not a heavy meal, but it carries enough nourishment to restore strength for the work that will follow. I imagine Arthur lifting his gaze for a moment, looking toward the doorway where the light of midday rests softly upon the ground outside. The farm continues, even in this pause. The animals move quietly in the yard. The chickens wander, pecking at the earth. A cow shifts its weight in the shade. The breeze moves gently through the grass, carrying a soft whispering sound that reaches even into the house. After the meal, there is no immediate return to work. The body is allowed a moment of stillness. Someone may lean back slightly, resting their hands upon their lap. Another may step outside, standing in the shade near the wall of the house, feeling the warmth of the day without being fully in it. A child may sit upon the ground, tracing small patterns in the dirt with the finger, not thinking of time, only enjoying the quiet. This midday rest is brief, but it is important. It is not simply a pause in labor, but a gentle resetting. The body softens, the breath slows, the mind settles into a calm space, free from the steady repetition of work, yet still held within the rhythm of the day. The light at this hour is different. It is brighter, more direct, yet not harsh. It reveals every detail of the farm, the texture of the wooden walls, the shape of the tools resting nearby, the gentle movement of leaves in the breeze. Shadows are shorter now, resting close to the objects that cast them. Arthur may step outside once more, standing for a quiet moment. The sky stretches wide above, clear and open. The fields lie beyond, waiting patiently. There is no sense of pressure, no feeling of being pulled back too quickly. The work will return, but not yet. A small drink of water may follow, cool and refreshing. It is taken slowly, the cup held with both hands. The water carries a faint taste of the well, clean and grounding. It brings a quiet sense of renewal, preparing the body gently for what comes next. Inside, the table is cleared. Bowls are gathered. A cloth is used to wipe the surface. Nothing is left in disorder. The space returns to its simple, clean state, ready for the next part of the day. The fire is adjusted slightly, not allowed to grow too large, but kept steady, ready for later use. Everything remains balanced, controlled, calm. And so, the midday moment begins to fade, not suddenly, but slowly, just as it arrived. The rest has been taken, the meal has been shared, the body feels lighter again, the mind clear, the rhythm ready to continue. Arthur takes one last quiet look across the farm, the warmth of the sun resting gently upon the land, the stillness of this brief pause settling into memory. And with that same calm, steady presence, the day begins to move forward once more, carrying him gently back toward the fields, where the work will continue in the same quiet, patient way. As the long day in the fields begins to soften, the light slowly changes once more, shifting from the bright clarity of midday into something warmer, deeper, and more gentle. I imagine Arthur walking back along the familiar path toward the farmhouse, the earth now dry beneath his feet, the air holding a quiet warmth that has settled over everything. The work of the day is not yet finished, but it no longer feels demanding. It moves now with a slower rhythm, as though the land itself is preparing to rest. The sun hangs lower in the sky, casting long, soft shadows across the yard and the surrounding fields. The light takes on a golden tone, touching the tops of the fences, the edges of the barn, the worn wood of the farmhouse walls. Everything seems to glow faintly, not brightly, but gently, as if wrapped in a thin layer of warmth. The farm is quieter now, not silent, but softened. The sharper sounds of work have faded. In their place come the small, familiar noises of evening routines. A gate opens with a low creak. Footsteps move more slowly across the ground. The breeze, lighter now, carries the scent of hay and cooling earth. Arthur steps into the yard, pausing for just a moment, as though noticing the change. The day has been long, but not heavy. The body feels its effort, yet there is no strain, only a quiet awareness of movement that has filled the hours. The evening chores begin, much like the morning ones, with calm and steady purpose. The animals are gathered in once more. A soft call, low and familiar, brings them toward the barn. A cow moves slowly, her steps unhurried, her head low. Sheep follow in a loose line, their movement gentle, almost drifting. The chickens, scattered throughout the yard, begin to return to their coop, guided not by force, but by habit and the fading light. The barn door opens again, its sound quieter now, as though even the wood has softened with the evening. Inside, the air holds a gentle warmth from the day. The light enters in long, narrow beams, catching dust that drifts slowly in the stillness. The animals settle into their places, their movements calm and familiar. Arthur moves among them without haste. A hand brushes along the side of a cow, checking, reassuring. Fresh straw is added where needed, laid down in soft layers. Water is refreshed, poured slowly into troughs, the surface rippling briefly before becoming still again. There is a quiet care in each action. Nothing is rushed, nothing is overlooked. Each task is completed with the same steady attention that has guided the entire day. The milking may be done again now, though more slowly, more quietly than in the morning. The rhythm is the same, but softer, as though the body has settled into a deeper calm. The sound of milk meeting the pail echoes gently in the dim space, blending with the slow breathing of the animals. Outside, the sky continues to change. The pale blue fades into warmer tones, soft gold, gentle orange, and hints of rose near the horizon. The light stretches across the fields, touching each surface with a quiet glow before slowly withdrawing. Arthur steps out of the barn, carrying what is needed, setting things in their place. The yard feels different now. The warmth of the day lingers, but the air has begun to cool just slightly. It moves across the skin in a calm, refreshing way. The chickens have settled. The coop is quiet, filled with soft rustling as they arrange themselves for the night. A final egg may be gathered, placed carefully into a basket. The doors closed gently, the latch secured without sound. The dog, who has followed the movements of the day, now rests nearby, watching without moving, content in the familiar routine. There is no need for quick movement anymore. The tasks are fewer, the pace slower. Arthur may walk once more to the edge of the yard, looking out across the fields that were worked just hours before. Now they rest in the evening light, their shapes softened, their details fading slightly as the sun lowers further. The breeze moves through them again, but more quietly now, carrying a softer sound. Inside the farmhouse, the fire is brought back to life once more, not with urgency, but with care. A few pieces of wood are placed gently. The flame rises slowly, steady and calm. Its light begins to glow against the walls, replacing the fading daylight. The evening meal may be prepared in much the same way as before. Simple, warm, familiar. The scent of cooking drifts outward, blending with the cool evening air. But even before the meal, there is this moment, this pause. Arthur stands for a while, neither working nor resting fully, simply observing. The sky deepens in color. The sun slips closer to the horizon, its light now softer, more distant. The shadows stretch longer, merging into one another. The edges of the farm begin to blur slightly, not disappearing, but becoming part of a calmer, quieter whole. The sounds grow fewer. A distant bird settles for the night. The animals quiet themselves. The soft crackle of the fire becomes more noticeable as other noises fade. There's a gentle stillness that begins to take hold. Not emptiness, but a kind of fullness that does not need movement. The work of the day has been done. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. And in that feeling of enough, there is peace. Arthur turns back toward the house, his steps slow, unhurried. The doorway glows faintly with the light of the fire within. The warmth waits there, steady and quiet. Behind him, the farm settles into evening. The fields rest. The animals grow still. The sky continues its slow, silent transition into night. And everything, for this brief and gentle moment, feels calm, balanced, and softly complete, as the last light of the day fades into a quiet, restful glow.